Good afternoon, ladies. This class is sponsored. Loving memory of their dear devoted father and teacher, Rabbi Avram, Chaim ben Shalom, and Frumit Goldenberg by Mr. and Mrs. Hananya Goldenberg. Any inspiration that may come out of this class should be a zechut for their families and in loving memory for their parents. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Could you imagine the unimaginable? The Gemara Masechet Shabbat Daf Petet. Gemara tells us something that if it didn't say it, there's no way that we'd believe it. The Gemara tells us that in the end of days, right before Mashiach comes, we're going to declare something fantastic. We're going to say, Ki ata avinu. Ki Abraham lo yeda'anu. V'Yisrael lo hikiranu. Aval ata avinu. What does this mean? Abraham didn't know us. Yisrael Yaakov didn't recognize us. However, you're our father. What does that mean? Says the Gemara something fantastic, but yet the unimaginable. Says the Gemara that in the end of days, Hashem's going to come to Abraham Avinu. And Hashem's going to say, Abraham, banecha chatuli. Your children have done terrible sins. They sinned to me terribly. What should I do about them? Abraham Avinu turns to Hashem and answers the unimaginable answer. Says Abraham Avinu, Yimachu al kiddush shemecha. If they sinned, then they sinned. There's nothing that I can do. You got to do what you got to do, Borei Olam. If they sinned, then you have to wipe them out. The unimaginable. When I told you unimaginable, I wasn't joking. If it wasn't written right there on the page of Gemara, Petet and Shabbat, there's no way that we would believe such a thing. Abraham Avinu, the Ish HaChesed, the first of the Avot HaKdoshim. But that's what he answered. Yimachu al kiddush shemecha. If they sinned, then punish them. Borei Olam did not like the answer. So Hashem didn't stop there. He went to Yaakov Avinu. He said, Yaakov, banecha chatuli. Your children sinned. What should I do about them? Says Yaakov Avinu, Hashem, if they sinned, what am I supposed to say? Yimachu al kiddush shemecha. You have to punish them. You have to punish them. Says Borei Olam, take a look at this. Lo b'saveh ta'ama velo b'dardike etza. By the old one, I did not get the advice I was looking for. And by the young one, I did not get the counsel that I was in search for. So who did Borei Olam go to? Well, there's a process of elimination. There are three avot. He went to Abraham and he went to Yaakov, and he didn't get the answer he was looking for. So lastly, he comes to Yitzchak Avinu. Now, ladies, I want to make something really clear. You know why he went to Yitzchak last? You see, Abraham, he's chesed. He's kindness. Yaakov is rachmanut. He's tiferet. You would assume that the answer to defend the Jewish people would come from either the Ish HaChesed or the Ish HaRachamim. But yet, it came from neither. That's why Hashem left Yitzchak last, because Yitzchak is din. He's gvura. He's judgment. Judgment, well, judgment you go to last. Especially if you're avoiding an aggressive answer, you don't want to go to judgment. So he left him last. So Hashem comes to Yitzchak Avinu last. And he says, Yitzchak, Banecha chat'uli. Your children, they sinned. What am I going to do about them? And suddenly, Yitzchak Avinu, he says, Borei Olam, Banai velo banecha? They're my kids? They're not your kids? All of a sudden now, because they sinned, now they're called my kids? They're not yours anymore? Isn't this the Klal Yisrael that you said by Matan Torah? At the moment that the Jewish people said, Na'aseh v'nishma, didn't you say, B'ni, B'chori Yisrael? That the Jewish people, they're your son, your Bechor, your firstborn, your beloved. And now you say, Banecha? Banai, they're my kids. They're not your kids. Ladies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Husband comes home after a long day. Comes into the house. His wife comes charging out of the kitchen. Do you know what your son did today? Guess what? He was thrown out of yeshiva again. What am I going to do with your son? All of a sudden now he's my son? Because he got thrown out of yeshiva? When we talk about the blue eyes, that's your side of the family. All of a sudden now he got suspended, he's my son. Your son got thrown out again, what are we going to do with him? And that's exactly what Yitzchak Avinu was saying to Hashem. Now that you come, the Jewish people have sinned. Suddenly, Banai velo banecha. Now suddenly they're my kids and not yours. Yitzchak Avinu at that moment goes into defense mode. Yitzchak Avinu says, Borei Olam, let's negotiate. How many years is in the lifespan of a human being? 70 years. So we're talking about the sins of 70 years. Well, in truth, we know that the first 20 years, a person is not chayav in onshim bidei adam. So we got to knock off 20 years. So really, what are we talking about? We're talking about sins of 50 years. But wait one second. In those 50 years, half time we're up, and the other half of the time we're sleeping. Generally, the sins aren't done while we sleep. So if that's the case, it's not really 50 years. You got to cut that in half. It's really 25 years. And wait one second. From those 25 years, says Yitzchak, you have to take off time for eating, praying, relieving oneself in their needs. So really, what are we talking about already? We're really talking about 12 and a half years of sin. No. Is this what we're talking about? 12 and a half years of Averot. Says Yitzchak Avinu to Hashem, says the Gemara, 12 and a half years. You should be able to forgive for that. And if you don't want to forgive for that, you know what? Let's split the bill. I'll take 6.25 years. You take 6.25 years. And we'll call it a day. And then says Yitzchak Avinu, and if you don't want to split the bill with me, I'll take the whole 12 and a half years. Because you know what? I gave my life for you by Akedat Yitzchak. I have enough merit to pay the entire bill. Oh. Ki ata avinu. Now we understand. Ki Abraham lo yida'anu. Abraham did not speak up for us. V'Yisrael lo hikiranu. Yaakov did not speak up for us. But ki ata avinu. You, Yitzchak, you're our father. You acted as a father in the end of days. You defended us. You got us off the hook. Says the Gemara on Shabbat Peteh, in the zechut of Yitzchak Avinu, Hashem is going to forgive the Jewish people of their sins Ba'acharit hayamim. And we're going to be zochet to Mashiach. Bizchut Yitzchak Avinu. Ki ata Avinu. Now, ladies, I'm not going to waste your time. I know there's a question that's burning inside of you. And it's a question that every single person that ever read this Gemara is bothered by. The $1 million question. What happened? Avraham Avinu, why did you speak up for us? Yaakov Avinu, why didn't you defend us? We're your kids. How come you kind of let us go? Avraham, the Ish Chesed. Ladies, let's not forget, when it came time that Hashem wanted to destroy Sodom and Amorah, Abraham Avinu negotiated with Hashem. Wait, don't do it yet. How many tzaddikim are there? 50, 45, 40? He went all the way down to 10. Wait one second. So when it came to Rishaim, Sodom va'Amorah, he was ready to negotiate a release. And his own children not? What's going on here? How come Avraham Avinu didn't defend us the way he defended Sodom va'Amorah? Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov Ishtam, the Amud of Torah. Yaakov, why didn't you defend us? We learned the Torah. We're your children. Why didn't Avraham and Yaakov defend the Jewish people? And I heard from my Rebbe that the answer is startling, and it's going to be the base that we're going to speak on everything we'd like to bring out today. My Rebbe told me, Avraham Avinu had a son, Yishmael. And when he had problems with Yishmael, you know what Avraham Avinu did? He threw him out. Garesh et ha'ama hazot ve'et bena. And therefore Abraham Avinu said, wait one second, Hashem is coming and asking me my opinion, what he should do with his problematic children. How can I tell him to do something with his kids that I didn't do with mine? When it came to my own kid, Yishmael, I threw him out. I didn't have Rahmanut. How can I ask Hashem to do something with his kids that I myself didn't do with my own? I can't be a hypocrite. And because of that, Abraham Avinu had no choice. He had to answer Borei Olam. You're having problems with your kids? I can't tell you to do anything more than I did with my own. Yimachu al kiddush shemecha. Then Hashem came to Yaakov Avinu. But yeah, Yaakov Avinu had a similar scenario. When it came to his son Reuven, Reuven sinned to his father by switching the beds. If we remember the pasuk in the end of Bereshit, Reuven bechori ata, yeter se'et ve'yeter az, pachaz kamayim, ki alita al mishkeve avicha. You went up on your father's bed and you switched the beds, which you are not allowed. Terrible disrespect to your father. What happened? Yaakov Avinu, he took the son that sinned against him and he threw him out of the Yerusha of Klal Yisrael. He took away from Reuven the Kehuna and the Milucha. Kohanim was supposed to come from Reuven, no more. Kings was supposed to come from Reuven, no more. And therefore, says Yaakov Avinu, look at the way I reacted to my own problems with my own kids. When I had a problem with my son Reuven, I threw him out of the Yerusha. Now Hashem is coming to ask me advice what to do with the problem of his kids. Could I possibly tell him to do something that I myself didn't do with my own kids? How hypocritical. And then because of that, Yaakov had no choice. All he could say, Yimachu al kiddush shemecha. But ladies, Yitzchak Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu had an Esav. Yitzchak Avinu had a son, Esav Harasha. What did he do? He was Mekar of him. He didn't throw him out. somehow or other, Yitzchak Avinu mustered up the strength and the love, an unconditional love, to be able to be mekarev, even an Esav Harasha. And he never gave up on him. And in spite of the fact that Esav was a Rasha, he kept putting kochot into him. He wouldn't stop giving up on him. He always tried to see the good in him. The pasuk says, V'Yitzchak ahav et Esav. Yitzchak loved him with an unconditional love that you could find from only parents, and especially such a special father. And therefore Yitzchak Avinu says, Abba, Borei Olam, you're coming to me because you have problems with your kids? Boy, do I know what to say on this subject. I'm the guru on this subject. I brought up an Esav Harasha, and I didn't give up on him. I didn't throw him out. He put me through what he put me through, but I was mekar of him nonetheless. And because of that, says Yitzchak, maybe Avraham can't speak, maybe Yaakov can't speak, but boy, can I speak on this subject. And now I'm going to negotiate. And now, Borei Olam, let's crack a deal. Really, what are we talking about? A few years, let it go. Says Borei Olam, oh, that's what I was waiting for. That was the answer I wanted to hear. I wanted someone to get up and to defend my children in spite of their sins. And who better can do that than Yitzchak, the father of Esav Harasha? The father that never gave up on his troubled teen at risk, at his son who went totally off the derech, and somehow or other never let him go. And it's in this merit that Yitzchak Avinu is going to get the Jewish people out of problems, our sins, our averot forgiven, and his zechut for Mashiach to come. This is incredible. And this is our generation that we live in today. Because that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, Ba'acharit hayamim, at the end of days, we're going to get bailed out because of Yitzchak Avinu and the likes. And we have to pick up this tremendous message. We have to pick up the ideology of Yitzchak Avinu in a generation that's challenging us every single day. And it's not easy. And boy, can some kids give their parents a run for their money. But somehow or other, it took the one that was Midat Hadin to find in himself a Rahmanut, not to let go of this kid. And ladies, I know we were not brought up this way. I get it. I'm on the phone all year on this topic. We weren't brought up this way. And that's why it's so tough for us to actually, in a certain way, give in to a style of parenting on a difficult child, where when we were kids, we would never have gotten away with murder like that. And that's why it's so hard for us to be able to relate to what they're going through. Because if I would have pulled out when I was a kid, boy, would my father show me the five-finger hand. And at times we think we get taken advantage of. And how much can I give already, Rabbi? I want to tell you a story. About 7 years ago, I was driving down Ocean Parkway. It was in the days when I was a rabbi in Har Lebanon, and Wednesday nights, we used to have a ladies' class that would generally end about 10:15. The time I got out of there was generally about 11 o'clock. So I'm driving back to Lakewood. Those were the good days when I still lived in Lakewood. I'm driving back to Lakewood at 11 o'clock. I'm coming down Ocean Parkway, and I stop by the red light at the corner of Ocean Parkway and Avenue V. And as I'm sitting there by the red light, and I'm the only guy there for the moment, it's quiet, I turn to the right, and I see a group of kids. Must have been about 20 boys and about 20 girls. Between the ages of 14, 15, maybe 16. Really young. 20 boys, 20 girls, and they're all over each other. And they're having a party at 11 o'clock at night. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, it's 11 p.m., it's almost midnight. Where are the parents? What's going on? You know, when I used to come home from yeshiva, if I come home at 6:05, I already have to give a din v'cheshbon. Where were you? Who were you with? I want their phone numbers. I want to call their mother. I want to make sure that you were really there. Oh my God, Ma, chill. It's 6:05. I came home 5 minutes late. No, I had to give an itemized bill, literally a din v'cheshbon, like as if I was going back to the IRS. Say, Ma, come on. But yeah, that's the way we were brought up. And it was good that we were brought up that way. And then you take a look at this corner, Ocean Parkway and Avenue V, and you see 20 boys, 20 girls, having a party like it's mid-afternoon, and it's almost midnight. And I'm thinking to myself, aren't there mothers at home wondering, it's almost midnight, where's my kid? So right away I went into the Dan Lekav's hoop mode. I said, you know what, probably, maybe, lo aleinu, it hurts to even think, maybe the parents don't have to control every more of those kids. Maybe those parents asked them to come home at an earthly hour, and they told their parents, bug off. If that's the case, I said, Duvi, we're not going to Lakewood that quick. I couldn't drive. The light turned green, and I was still sitting on the corner of Ocean Parkway. And then I started hearing the honking and the honking. Welcome to Brooklyn, the honking and the honking. So I pulled the car off to the side, right into the service lane. And I got out of my blue Toyota Camry. And I walked up to this group of kids. I walked up to two of the boys. Guys, what's doing? And I started talking to them about the Yankees and about everything and anything that would mean something to a 14 and 15-year-old boy. It's good I listened to the news that day, or I wouldn't have a clue what I was talking about. And I started repeating to them what I heard. Yeah, we're drafting this guy, and we're giving away that guy, and oh my gosh, last night he homered, and we're getting into this great conversation. And then from there, we start talking about other things that led to other things, and we're gassing around and laughing, and a bunch of guys see that these two guys are really getting into a great, loud conversation. So they come over, another two. And then another two came over. And then another four came over to check out what's going on. What are you guys hanging with the rabbi? And then after about 6-7 minutes, we were basically into a huddle, arm to arm, laughing and joking about everything that means nothing in the world. And we were talking about everything meaningless as if it was wow. And then at the end of the conversation, I found myself in a circle with all 20 guys. And I look back for a second, and I see the girls are standing there like this. And they were not happy. They were giving me the stare of death. I poked my head back into the huddle of the guys, and I said, guys, let me ask you something. You know, you guys got to be home at any time? You have a curfew? You know, let's share curfews. I got to be home in Lakewood. You guys got to be home? One guy tells me, nah, Rabbi, my mother knows I come in every night, 2, 3 in the morning. I said, really? Another guy tells me, yeah, it's not a big deal. Everybody was good. I said, okay, if everybody's good, what do you think? Gentlemen, you want to go out? I'll take you to Kosher Delight, Aleha Shalom. You want to go to Kosher Delight on Jay? Huh? They got these mad burgers. Hello. These burgers. They got onion rings. Nobody beat Kosher Delight's French fries. What do you say, guys? Rabbi, we're down. I said, great. All right, gentlemen. It's on me. Let's go. It's me and Amex tonight. Yeah, nothing to worry about. We got a feast going. And I'm telling you, it was a moment out of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. How we fit 20 guys into a Toyota Camry without having to use the trunk. And right before I left that corner, I looked back at the girls and I said, young ladies, you hate me now, but you're going to bless me one day. I'm going to see you in class one day. One day you're going to come to my Shabbat class in the community, and you're going to see that I just did you a tremendous favor. I pulled you away from the world of fantasy and brought you back to reality of the way things work. And that's why we do it this way. And I turned around and I ran up to the car because I saw my car going up and down and up and down. And I didn't even start it yet. And it's going, they were testing my shocks up and down. I jumped into the car. I made a U-E and went right back to Avenue J. Hazita, my wife at home, is thinking, where is this clown? I was supposed to be home for an hour, but that night we were all pushing our curfews. And I went to Avenue J. We all stormed into Kosher Delight. We took the upstairs. People came in. They heard the rah-rah going on the upstairs. They thought there was a Shevet Berachot going on upstairs in Kosher Delight. We ordered out the place. We ordered out the place. And bli ayin hara, these guys can eat. And the more they ate, the more I swiped. And the more I swiped, the more they ate. This was a feast of Shlomo HaMelech. And once we were at the end of this class, they were sitting back now, happy. I said, gentlemen, you want to hear something beautiful in Parashah? I said, yeah, Rabbi, tell us something. So I told them a little something on Parashah from that night's class. And then I told them a story. And at the end of the story, suddenly the guys that were sitting back on their stomachs, they started moving close and leaning forward on their chairs. And then they were at the edge of their chairs at the end of the story. And then I stopped the story and I didn't end it. And I said, well, if you want to hear the end, maybe we'll meet up again next week. No way, Rabbi, you out of your mind? You can't do to us today. You can't do the tune in next week, same time, same channel. You can't do that. I said, guys, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. I got to go back to Lakewood and find out if I'm still married. No, Rabbi, come on, just the end of the story. All right, listen, here's the deal. I'll tell you the end. It's an amazing end of the story, but okay. I'll tell you the end of the story. But do we do this again next week? Yeah? You joking? Of course. Right back here, Kosher Delight, Rabbi. Right back here, Wednesday night. But this time a little bit earlier. And this time there's no pit stops on Ocean Parkway. You're going to come straight to Kosher. Rabbi, you got it. We all put our hands in the middle of the table, 20 hands. And I was the 21. Ach, Tov Israel. Ach is 21. 21. And the next week, they were all back on time. Because the way to a guy's heart is through his stomach. I don't have to tell you that. And boy, were they back the next week. And we did it again the week after that. And then the week after that, we brought them back to the shul. And we made a tremendous food fest for them. And a lot of Torah. And a lot of good time together. Ladies, this story goes back almost 7 years ago. out of the group of 20, 6 are in American yeshivot today, and another 9 is still learning in Eretz Yisrael right now. They're there on Shana Bet, on their 2nd year. We weren't brought up this way. We weren't. We were brought up Yitzchak Avinu. That's the way we were brought up. We were brought up with discipline. We were brought up with rules. And thank God we were. That's what made us the generation to be able to stomach the coming generation. But understand, just like Yitzchak Avinu, who's Gvura and Din, and he found mercy to be able to still handle an Esav and not give up on him. Don't give up on these kids. Not today, not anymore. This is the generation of the ideology of Yitzchak, along with the zechut of Yitzchak Avinu. And we have no choice. We have to go with this mahalach. We have to go with the Yitzchak Avinu style. Because there's something going on this generation that chas v'shalom, if we don't go with this style, we'll lose him. Will we lose him if we haven't lost enough? What's going on in this generation today? This past year alone, in the Jewish communities, there have been 120 suicides. Did you hear that? In the Jewish communities alone, 120 suicides. Why? We're living the American dream. What's bugging us? What are we lacking? What are we missing? We have everything. We have it so good. We have it better than any other generation previously ever had it. Why are they taking their lives? Why are they ending their lives? They have such a good life to live. 120 suicides in 1 year? What's bugging us? What's bugging us? You know, what is bugging us? We drive cars that park by themselves. We lease BMWs and Lexuses. We live in magnificent houses. We're able to boast summer homes, living with a life with an infinity of all different types of luxuries. What's bugging us? What are we lacking? Why are they taking their lives? Why are there suicides? 120 suicides, ladies. What's going on? What are we missing? In such good times, in such affluence. What are we missing? What's bugging us? I'd like to tell you what I think. You want to know what's bugging us? What's bothering us is the choshech. You thought choshech means darkness? No. That's just the surface of choshech. I'm not talking about just darkness. I'm talking about the plague of makat choshech. We're living in a plague of makat choshech. Makat choshech, the darkness, is the essence of the galut today. I'd like to explain to you what I'm talking about. What is makat choshech? Well, going back to Mitzrayim, Hashem brought on the Egyptians 10 makot. The 9th makkah was makat choshech, as we all know. But ladies, did you know that the 10 makot in Egypt, each makkah had a gradual progression from the makkah before it. Each makkah was a little bit stronger, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit tougher to live with, a little bit stronger. Where Dam, the first Makkah, was the least of the Makot, and obviously number 10, Makat Bechorot, death was the worst. You can't get worse than death. And in between, each Makkah, as you go up gradually, is worse than the one before. So Tzfardeya was worse than Dam, and Kinim was worse than Tzfardeya. And if that's the case, how do you explain number 9? Makat Choshech. Choshech is darkness. Darkness is really worse than lice. It's worse than wild animals. It's worse than pestilence. It's worse than the Arbed that wiped them out of every morsel of food in Egypt, that they had nothing to eat. Choshech, it was dark, okay. We get blackouts all the time. Okay, so it was more than that, but it was dark. Is Choshech really much worse than the previous Makot? And the answer is, Makat Choshech was not a plague of darkness just, but rather, do you know how the Torah describes Makat Choshech? Says the Torah, the first 3 days, Lo ra'u ish et echav. You weren't able to see anybody. They literally sat in solitary confinement without being able to move for 3 straight days. This was the plague of loneliness. That's Makat Choshech. The plague of loneliness. Ladies, if you want to understand the galut that we're living in today, the choshech that we're living in today, it's the makat choshech that we're living in today, the essence of loneliness, and how it is literally eating away at the core of the Jewish people. Do you know how many people are suffering from loneliness today? And I'm not talking about people that you would think went through specific out of the ordinary problems in life. I'm even talking about married couples, where the last place you would think someone would be lonely is in a marriage. For heaven's sake, a marriage means it takes 2 to tango. It means that there are 2 people that came together, committed themselves to each other as a lifelong partner. And yet, do you know how many married people I know today that are living in such loneliness? They're living alongside their spouse in complete solitary confinement, in loneliness, and they are suffering something horrific. This is the makkah that's driving every person crazy in such a darkness. Makat choshech, the plague of loneliness, the plague of this galut. And the deeper you go into the galut, the deeper the darkness. The deeper the darkness, the deeper the hole of the loneliness. And that tomb gets deeper and deeper. How do you react to your loneliness? Think about that for a minute. How do you react to your loneliness? Now, there are some people that in the depths of their loneliness, they'll open a window and they'll look out. They'll look out, they'll peer out, hoping in their loneliness to find some easy and shallow way to connect to somebody, just to be able to dull the pain of the loneliness, feeling that they're actually connected to people, that they're around people. Yeah, I have friends. And they'll peer out of that window and they'll try so hard to make these shallow, easy connections. And they look for these connections that demand no loyalty, no long-term consequences, no commitment. Just the instant gratification that I feel somewhat connected to someone, just to dull the pain tell myself I'm not lonely anymore. So we turn to social media. We turn to Facebook. We turn to Instagram. And we coax ourselves into believing, hey, wow, look at that. I have thousands of followers. They love me. I'm connected. I'm loved by so many. Do you see how many likes I get every time I put something up? Boy, am I connected. Boy, am I a somebody. Boy, am I popular. I have thousands of followers. Yeah, she has thousands of followers, but not one friend. Not one friend. Aye. And I'm amazed at how many people fell into this. They fell into this fantasy, building some sort of a fantastical world of all different types of shallow connections that demand no commitment, no long-term consequence. It's just for the moment. It's just for that moment's feeling of gratification, just to dull the pain of loneliness. And I'm amazed how many young people, 15, 16, 17 years old, who fell into this, boys and girls alike. Ladies, let me tell you the way I teach today. I'm a Rebbe in a 12th grade in Yeshivat Magen Abraham. I teach 12th graders. Can I tell you the way I teach? The guys come in the morning. Now, like every good high school, the policy of the yeshiva is that we take their phones away in the morning when they come into school. Because believe me when I tell you, from this side of the desk, if you think you're going to teach them while they have their phone on their table, boy, do you have something else coming. And you could be animated and you could be interesting. My gosh, you could have been born from Hollywood itself, and it won't get this kid to take his face off that phone. I had times where they forgot to collect the phones, and the phone was on his desk, and I was teaching a class, and I saw one guy with one eye on the Gemara and the other eye on the phone the entire hour. And I got up just to stretch, and I peer over, and I see he has the wrong Gemara sitting in front of him. I say, yo, buddy, we're not learning Masechet Makot. We're learning Masechet Berachot. And he said to me, oh, yeah, Rabbi, really? Wow, that's funny. I've been following the last hour. Yeah, I know what you were following the last hour. And it wasn't me. So day in, day out, they come into yeshiva, the phones are taken away. But ladies, it hurts me to be able to talk about this berabim, but I got to tell you the way I teach. Today, our guys became very savvy. So today, they come in and they hand their phones into the rabbi in the morning. Here you go, Rabbi. Here you go, Rabbi. Here. And the rabbi is so thrilled. Oh my gosh, you guys are handing in your phones. I don't have to fight you. I don't have to push you. I don't have to beg you. Yeah, Rabbi, nah, we don't want to make your job hard. And I look at the rabbi, come on, Rabbi. You know that those are dummy phones. You know there's no service on those phones. Come on, Rabbi, every now and then, just make it a little challenging. Call one of the phones, please. But the rabbi's at tzaddik. Nah, they wouldn't do that. Oy vey. And because of that, these guys, they give in their dummy phones with a big smile. And right when the rabbi walks by, yes, I got him again. They come into class, and then they pull out their real phone right in front of the Rebbe, put it down on the table, and now it's time for me to teach. Good luck, Rebbe. And it's at that moment that I turn to the guys, I say, okay, guys, listen up. Here's the deal. I'm not going to give you up. I'm not going to throw you under the bus. But gentlemen, your phones are my desk. And you have to see this. Very slowly, they get up. They shut it off. They say goodbye. It's very hard to cut the umbilical cord. They walk up to the desk sulking. All right. Rabbi, anyone touches my phone, I'll kill them. Don't worry, it's sitting on my desk. They put it on my desk in front of them. And ladies, I jest you not. They go back to their desk. They open up their Gemara. And now they're looking at their Gemara and their eye is on their phone on the desk. They can't take their eye off the phone. They can't let it go. And I'm amazed. And then every now and then there's one guy that says, no way, Rabbi, last week I put it on your desk and it got a little nick, I got a little scratch. I want valet parking. So they turned the rabbi into a valet attendant, where now I put those VIP phones inside my pockets. So it's surrounded by material. I walk around for the rest of the day buzzing and humming and dinging and clinging because these kids want valet parking. And the rest of them, at least Rabbi on the desk, because they have to see it. It needs to be an eye shot. And as long as I see my baby is okay, I can continue learning. Otherwise, all bets are off. I'll leave yeshiva. I'll leave. Yeah, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. One time the rabbi turned to a kid and told him, you didn't come to tefillah for 2 weeks? That's it. Give me your phone. He said, what? No way. They went back and forth and the kid was willing to leave the yeshiva, not to give up his phone. And it was only for a day. One day. And that's why they look at me, a guy with a flip phone, like a Martian. It's like I came from a different... Rabbi, how do you live, they ask me. I try to explain to them that I live well. I live really well. And this is what we go through. And even with this system, I teach for 20 minutes and it's too much. Somebody's phone's buzzing. Oh my God, Rabbi, I think that's my friend. I think that's my this. I think that's my that. So after 20 minutes of learning, we have a 5-minute phone break. It's like the old days when they had smokers. They had to go outside for a 5-minute smoking break. Today we have a phone break. They get up, they come grab their phone. Oh wow, you have to see the looks on their faces when they come and get their phone back. It's like, they were reattached to the oxygen machine and now they flip it on and they start going to, oh my gosh, this person called me. Oh my gosh, that person, hey. And then he said, yeah, you reacted and come on, I put it up. Why didn't you give me a like? And they go into a world that doesn't exist for 5 minutes. And then I have to get them to power down their phones and give it up again. Put it back on the table. Let's go down another daf Gemara. And by the way, you might think that this is ridiculous, right? So do I. But we finished 4.5 pirakim of Masechet Berachot with this ridiculous system. You know why? Because these kids are so lonely. They're so empty. And this is all they got. Halavai, they'd have this, but this is all they got. This is their world. This world loves me. This is the world that I feel connected. This is the world that I have thousands of followers. This is my world. Don't you dare touch my world. Don't you dare touch my phone. I'm amazed. I'm amazed how people are willing to trade the world of fantasy that could disappear with the click of one button for the world of reality. You gave up reality for a world of fantasy. A world that can disappear in a second. And by the way, it's not just the kids. Not just the boys and the girls, 15, 16, 17. I'm amazed today at some of the mothers, 30, 35, 40. I'm amazed how their life became that phone. It's the first thing they look at if they wake up in the morning. And it's the very last thing they look at when they go to sleep at night. And there it goes, the Instagram. It's amazing. This is my dinner tonight. Boom. Hazaku Baruch. Thank you. Now the world knows what you made for dinner tonight. This is my kid in the bath. Thank you. We had to see your kid half naked. Hazaku Baruch. And then you got the good ones. Oh my gosh, I just got a teeth whitening. Let me see how many likes I'm going to get now. Really? This isn't beyond ridiculous to you? A world of fantasy that's built on nothing? A world of connections that are shallow and empty? And you'd rather trade that just to dull the pain of loneliness? Oy, what a makat choshech this is. What a plague. What a plague of loneliness and a galut that this really is. People living on this today, that it became their lives. You go out to a restaurant with your husband for your anniversary. What are you taking selfies for? Why don't you enjoy the moment? This is a moment between you and him. What are you taking pictures with the waiter? Who cares? Enjoy your moment. For heaven's sake. You went out to get away from everybody. You went out because it's a special occasion. It's private. It's personal. It's pure. Enjoy it. The moment you flaunt it, it's the moment you cheapened it. Why do you have a need to share that with anybody? Why wasn't it good enough to just share it with him? The one that you had the anniversary with. How did we fall into this loneliness? To this emptiness that we need such cheap thrills just to be able to get us another moment of gratification, another moment of satisfaction on such a shallow level. What happened to the beauty of what life was once? Where people were people and they loved each other and they cherished the moments together. And they didn't have a feeling or a need to have to flaunt it out to everybody because it in itself was perfect. What happened to those days? What happened to the days that people went on vacations because they wanted to get away from the world? Today we go on vacations, we take the world with us. Oh my gosh, we're at the gate. Selfie, selfie, selfie. Oh my gosh, I'm on the plane. Selfie, selfie, selfie. Oh my gosh, we got to the hotel. It's gorge. Melissa, it's gorge. Next year you have to come here with your husband. Lady, you went on vacation to get away from everybody, or you took everybody with you? Why do we have this need? And it's so, if you think about it, it's so empty. It's so ridiculous. And we're willing to buy into that, and that should be the shallow connections of our social life just to dull the pain of loneliness. Oy vey. Makat choshech, in the choshech of galut. Oy vey. Ladies, it's time to drop the image. It's time to step out of the shallow shadows. People are living in these images that they're trying to show the world that they're so happy on the outside and life is so good for them. And take a look at me here and take a look at me there. And here's my grandkid and here's my child. And there's no personal quality anymore. There's no privacy anymore. As long as I look good in the image, in the eyes of people, even though in the background I'm suffering like terrible. Doesn't matter. I look good. Like the lady in the community who came to the shoemaker only a few months ago. She walks into the shoemaker and she puts her shoes down on the table. And before she could even say a sound, she didn't say a word. Before she can get a word out, the shoemaker says, yeah, I know. Tips, taps, and paint the bottom red. That says it all. That says it all. I don't have to talk about the weddings. I don't have to talk about the vacations. That says it all. Tips, taps, and paint the bottoms red. What a false image. And it's driven by such a loneliness. And those shallow connections aren't going to do it. Because then life just becomes more and more and more tasteless. And the moment you realize that it all can disappear in 1 second is the moment you realize that you've built and built and built on something that's nothing. And you know the withdrawal feeling that comes after that? You feel so empty and worthless. I have nothing. I have no friends. I have nobody. What do you do in your moment of loneliness? How do you react? Do you reach out to shallow connections? Or do you reach into strength of the gifts that Hashem gave you, your family, your husband, and your kids? What do you do? And I want to tell you something very powerful. This past year, ladies, on the night of Pesach, and believe me when I tell you, there's a big connection between Pesach and Tisha B'Av. On the night of Pesach, you had on the table maror. Remember the bitter herb? What did you use for maror this year? So now I know in an Ashkenaz environment, there probably was horseradish, kol hakavod, my Zaydi alav shalom. He used to bring this white horseradish into the house. Erev Pesach. He used to just open the jar and everybody had to run for the hills. We were crying before Pesach started. Ashrechem. But many families, like the Sephardic community, they use for maror romaine lettuce. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Romaine lettuce? When was the last time you ate romaine lettuce? Is that bitter? Romaine lettuce isn't bitter. It's not a bitter herb. So how did that become the go-to maror on a Pesach Seder? It's not bitter, for heaven's sake. And if that's the case, why do we use it? And the answer is because it's tasteless. Mitzrayim, they made us do a job that was tasteless. We built and they broke it down in front of us. We built and they broke it down in front of us. We found out in Egypt that a tasteless life is the most bitter life to lead. Bitter. And that's why we use romaine lettuce. Tasteless life is bitter. And we're falling into this tastelessness and the makat choshech of the plague of loneliness. I cry for so many of these kids that have so much potential, and instead they traded it away for a phone and a world of fantasy with nothing to live for. No wonder today our kids are absolutely not motivated at all. They're not motivated to do a thing, not to learn, not to work. They'd rather just sit with their phone and leave me alone. Let me go to Fantasy Island. I'd rather stay there. Makat choshech. So what do we do, Rabbi? What's the answer? I'd like to tell you what the answer is. An answer that might stop us from running from one business trip to another business trip, from one vacation to another vacation, from one island to another island, from one cruise to another cruise, from one shul to another shul, from one rabbi to another rabbi. I want to give you an answer. The answer I want to tell you is, Lo irara ki ata imadi. The answer of Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik told us, the loneliest guy in Egypt, who was sold by his brothers, given up. His mother died at the age of 9, sold at 17. He was the loneliest guy in the world. He had nobody in Egypt. And it came to the moment he was going to break under loneliness by Eshet Potiphar. And what saved him from the loneliness? What pulled him out? He looked through the window and he saw his father's face. He saw a father that believed in him, a father that loved him. And at that moment, he broke out of the loneliness. You know what that means? That means if you want to break out of makat choshech and loneliness, here's the answer. The answer is support. Every person needs support. No matter who you are, no matter how old you are. We need support. We need people around us supporting us. We need people that love us. We need to start reinvesting in family. In our family, in our spouses, in our kids, to feel a real connection. A connection with commitment. A connection with love. And even on those moments that the connection might not be there. No. Lo irara. You might feel lonely, but you're not alone. Hashem is right there with you, holding your hand in this choshech. So let me just tell you this story, because apparently I'm not the only speaker that went over. This past summer, I was zochet to make a bar mitzvah for my son in the old city, in the Rova. And we were incredibly on a high. I'm crazy about Israel. Any opportunity I get, I'm there, period. I'm there in the Rova, and we're making a Shabbat bar mitzvah for my son. We come into the Rova Friday afternoon. We rented a beautiful apartment in the old city. We set everything up. The table is ready for Shabbat. Wow, we were on a high. We're having the whole family over. We're going to pray by the Kotel Friday night, Lecha Dodi, come back to the Rova and have a magnificent bar mitzvah meal. I was flying. My son was flying, Yitzchak, my bar mitzvah boy. We're on a high. Friday afternoon, we're hungry. So right there by the Rova, only a few steps away, there was a pizza shop. We go into the pizza shop, we sit down. There was a few Arabs walking in and out. Some of them were waiters, some of them cleaning. We sit down, we eat up, we finish our lunch, and we leave. As we leave, my daughter, Adina, turns to me and says, Abba, my iPhone, my brand new phone, my tagged iPhone 6. Like, you heard that tag? My tagged iPhone 6. My iPhone, it's gone. I said, okay, you probably forgot in the pizza shop. We ran back to the pizza shop. I come into the pizza shop, I walk up to the Arab. I said to him, Tagid li, ata ra'ita eze pelephone iPhone 6? Lo. I said, really? Lo. I pull out 100 shekel. Did you see an iPhone? He says, Adoni, ani lo ra'iti shum pelephone. I said, okay. I pulled out $100. Did you see a phone? The Arab says, Adoni, lo mishane eze tseva hakesef shelcha. Ani lo ra'iti, ani lo ra'iti. I didn't believe the guy, but if he didn't see, he didn't see. I left. We go back to the apartment. I pull out my iPad. I hit the app, find my phone. It gives me a grid of the entire old city. I see on the grid, there's my wife's phone, there's my other daughter's phone, there's my son-in-law's phone. And there was Adina's phone, the only phone that was on the run. And I was watching it go down the streets of the old city. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I turned to my son-in-law, Ray, let's go. He said, are you serious? I said, yeah, don't tell your mother-in-law, but let's go. We ran out of the apartment, and I'm running, holding my iPad like I'm on a treasure hunt, okay? 2 steps to the right. Okay, 2 steps to the left. He went down this street. He turned the left to this block. And we are running, trying to catch up with this guy. Finally, smack in the middle of some side street in the old city, the phone stops. I say, Ray, this is our shot. Let's go. He stopped. We run down the block, and we run up to the spot where the phone is. And there's about 6 people standing there. I said, Ray, who do we jump on? He looks to me and says, I don't know. It could be that guy. It could be that guy. It could be this guy. We jump on the wrong guy, we got a problem. And this is the middle of a bar mitzvah. That was the last thing we wanted to be doing. And then suddenly I look down at the grid and the phone takes off. And this time it wasn't walking, it was running. Apparently one of the guys hopped that we were on to them and they took off. And we didn't see which one. So we just chased the phone on the grid. We went down another block and then another block and then another block. And we found ourselves in the heart of the old city, in the heart of the Arab Shuk. And now the streets on the grid didn't have Israeli names anymore. They were all Arabic names. We're going down side alleyways of the Arab Shuk, only to come all the way up almost to the Kotel. And suddenly I see an American seminary girl who made a wrong turn. That right turn that everyone misses going to the Kotel from the Arab Shuk, she made a left and she's going down this narrow alleyway and the Arab already put his hand on her. And he's walking her down the alleyway and he's telling her, Kotel, Kotel, and he's smiling to his friend. And I saw another Arab down the alleyway smiling like this to tell her, come, we're going to show you where it is. And he's walking her down the alleyway. I turned to my son-in-law, Ray, forget about the phone. Look, we ran down the alleyway. I ran up to the girl, said, young lady, you're coming with me. What? What do you mean? I'm going to the Kotel. I said, I know. Now, come with me. She turns around. She follows me out the alleyway. And we walk her right up to the right turn and take her down literally to the steps. And the Arabs walk up to me with a look. And I looked at them and I smiled. Shlonak, Kifak, how are you? And I ran off. I turned to Ray and I said, maybe it wasn't for the phone that Hashem put us here. I look down at the grid and the phone is still moving. I run down to the end of the path where the phone is and it stops. I see a guy with a cigarette coming in and out of the alleyway. I run up to two soldiers. Hey, these guys, they stole our phone. So the Israeli soldier says, said that. He tells me, go ahead, go inside and ask him for if they give you a problem, we have your back. I said, you guys are carrying rifles. What do you want from me? We ran into this little crevice and I heard something going on in there and it didn't sound good. I ran back to the soldiers and I said, Yesh baya bifnim. They come running, they ran in, and suddenly we started hearing banging and yelling and screaming. I turned to my son-in-law, I said, Ray, you know what? This is a bad idea. Let's get out of here. Phone or no phone, kapara, you know what I'm saying? This is getting way too far for me. We ran all the way back to the apartment. I come into the apartment. My wife says, where were you? I said, well, honey, we were around. I look at Ray, remember, father-in-law, son-in-law. We don't do that, right? We don't do that. And he said, yeah. And we were around. Finally, Ray says to Adina, you wouldn't believe what we went through trying to get your phone. And she says, why? My phone was here all along. I said, what? Your phone was where? Yeah. It was on my charger in the room. I totally forgot to bring it. I thought I brought it to the pizza shop. I didn't. It was in my room on the charger all along. I said, what? So wait one second. Who are we following on the grid all along? And then it hit me. We were following Borei Olam's daughter. And at that moment, she was alone. And we were put there to make sure that chas v'shalom, nothing happens to her. Makat choshech, the plague of loneliness. Yes, it's time to invest in family, in real connections, not shallow social media. And remember, those connections, you're never alone and you're no longer lonely. And those connections remind you, Lo irara ki ata imadi. Thank you for listening.